I got a call from Ruby Bradford this week. She seemed distressed. She had no one to turn to. She said everyone at Fourth Church has been fired because of money. Growing up, we had three TV stations and UHF. It was that gray area you had to kind of tune into. Listening to Ruby, we was kind of like trying to tune into a scrambled frequency, but I listened anyway. At a dinner party this week with a prominent business person with Asperger's, I was warned ahead of time to accommodate the person. I wasn't sure if it was better knowing this or not. I'm not a clean freak, but as soon as I sat down at the table, I felt the compulsion to wash my hands before joining in the meal. Last week at the Democrat National Convention, Kamala said as a child growing up, they had to live in the flats because they were too poor to live in the heights. Later in her speech, she said she grew up middle class. We're probably all on the spectrum, giving and receiving, accommodating and treading on each other. Nobody wants to get their hands dirty. Being middle class is both an affirmation and the ultimate put down, especially when your father disowns you for being a traitor to your class. We can't serve God and be a Marxist too. Nobody's perfect. Welcome. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith. At Sunday Coffee Hour, we talk about everything and nothing. This Sunday, we talked about trying to unlike something, West Nile virus, Tom Gowans, being startled, and the Central Park Five. The readings at Washington National Cathedral were from Joshua. Put away the gods of your ancestors and revere God. And from Ephesians, put on the full armor of the Lord. It's always in style. The gospel reading was from John. This is my flesh and this is my blood. You must eat and drink so you can abide in me. The sermon at Washington National Cathedral was by Randy Hollerath. Randy preached about difficult teaching. Mark Twain said people find passages in the Bible difficult because they don't understand them. But Mark Twain said that he found the passages he does understand to be the most difficult. Picking up the cross and being a radically better person, or just going with the flow. We all have to choose which God to follow. For some, spirituality is a buffet of ideas and doctrines, practices, and beliefs. We choose the one that suit our current lifestyle and identity. We place different gods in the place of God, like communism and Marxism, which come with disastrous results. Each day we have a life we're living and a God we're following. God is God, life is life, God is life itself. At St. James Cathedral, the sermon was by Lisa Hackney James. Lisa preached about being in the center of the DNC. St. James was surrounded by barricades and fencing to protect candidates staying in nearby hotels. Lisa said they were waiting for perhaps a candidate to join them in worship. The last presidential candidate that joined them at St. James for worship was Abraham Lincoln in 1860. And he wasn't even an Episcopalian. Lisa said we live in a dangerous world now, and she had to interact with the Secret Service to be sure people could get to church, and those who sleep in the church plaza each night were not shooed away. St. James was accommodated by the armor of the world because the world is not threatened by the church. It's no longer a viable threat to anyone. Lisa marveled how accommodating Secret Service was. She failed to recognize that they were the recipients of the kindness of not caring. It was kind of sweet, actually. We often see things from our own perspective. A world that spurns us at least has considered us. Receiving the kindness of indifference is truly devastating, but we'll take it as a win anyway. Lisa read from the church history of St. James that Abraham Lincoln sat in the Arnold pew because he was invited by the Arnold family. Like many denominations at the time, the congregation of St. James was divided on the topic of slavery. Neither side for but instead how best it should come to an end. Lincoln put together a cabinet of his opposition, all of whom survived his holding office. It's a cautionary tale. Lisa said, whatever goes wrong or whatever current world crisis or our own life crisis presents itself, we get a response. We need to put on the shoes on our feet which serve us best to allow us to move on. We're made strong by God, and the shoes we put on are part of the armoring up to move through the violence of bringing anything new into the world. Violence always accompanies any act of change. We have to dress and put on our own layer of protection and allow us to be protected and to pierce the armor of the world. When I first moved to Chicago, we had a fire alarm in my building late at night. I knew I couldn't take anything with me, but I'd have to take some clothes to go to work the next day. That was easy enough until I got to the part about the shoes. Should I take the ridiculous Gucci loafers with the silly brass horse bits or the plain black loafers? I've talked to my fashion stylist friend Marcy that being Protestant is often conflated with having good taste. We're so afraid of offending anyone, we're always understated. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out last week about how he's running out of time offending people. He decided to double down in order to accommodate and accomplish something in this lifetime. After the Democrat convention, Kamala's father panned his daughter for being a traitor to her class, downplaying her Marxist upbringing to pass for middle class. We all have to make choices, this or that. They naturally imply supposition, the art of supposing and othering. We have to choose one God and leave another behind and experience the diminishing returns of not being the other thing. Author Kevin Schramm said this week we have three responses to the implosion of Western civilization. We can withdraw from the world, we can save the world, or blow it up. He said Christ employed all three approaches in his earthly ministry, and so can we. He gave the example of the homeless, drug addicts, and the incarcerated as those who have withdrawn from the world. It's up to us to save the world or blow it up, turning to God and leaving it to God's will to accomplish all this. The answer to most of it for us is gratitude. Gratitude transcends which shoes to wear and which party to vote for. I chose the black plain loafers for work. I still have the Gucci loafers. We can be middle class or not, being ashamed for being something and not something else. Enough already. It's all about the gratitude. Please join us at Sunday Coffee Hour every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video. Be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.